Good afternoon, trucking junkies. It's 12:25 and I'm headed out. As you can see, I'm at the North Little Rock yard instead of at home. And what I did was I brought my truck down here this morning, grabbed a courtesy car, and went over to the hospital where my wife's at, which is only I don't know, a couple of miles, 3 miles from here. So my wife is still in the hospital. She is having issues passing all the gas that they put in her for the laparoscopy, which is causing pressure on everything. She's also had some issues with an infection. They gave her some antibiotics, and it came down, and her numbers came down on Friday, and then yesterday her numbers went back up. So they're gonna go back in and they're gonna find out what is causing this infection, and they're gonna do that in a couple hours. So my mother-in-law is up there with her. I left so she could come up there. I talked to my wife yesterday and asked her, I told her, I said, I could get somebody to take this load to Houston. We could find somebody to do it. And she didn't want me to. She said, since I'm the only one working right now, I need to stay on the road. So, yes, ma'am. They're going to find what's wrong with her, and they're going to fix her. And she'll be at home when I get home this week, at the end of the week. I'm just really worried, stressed out about it at the moment. So, I'm going to drive to Houston and get my mind off of it and pray that she's going to be okay. And they're going to keep me up to date. Her mom is, whenever she knows anything. So, yeah. So, like I said, it's an all drive day today. I'm going to answer. I had an email from a gentleman that was asking me a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to address all that in today's email, or today's vlog. Sorry. And answer his questions. So stay tuned for that. We may do a random fact. I don't know. I got to get my mind off some things and focus on the road. But let's go. Let's get down there. Let's go. All right. As you can see, it is raining. Yay. And I've just got a phone call from my mother-in-law. And they've taken Kelly down to pre-op about an hour ago. But she's not been in for the surgery yet. So she's going to keep me updated whenever they get done and everything, and they find out what's going on. She's going to let me know, and I'll come back on here and let y'all know. But so I want to answer the first two questions in the email from this gentleman. Also, this gentleman is a law enforcement officer in South Carolina, and I used to live in South Carolina for about a year, so I appreciate his service. That's pretty awesome. But the first things that he asked was, what is the state of the trucking industry and the state of Maverick? Okay, so let's tackle that first one first. State of the trucking industry. That's a little broad. I don't know how dry freight is moving and how they keep those guys moving, and I don't know how refrigerated freight is being moved and how much is being moved, because I don't work in those industries. Heavy hauling and stuff, I have no idea, but I can tell you about flatbedding and what I see out here. So the places that I go, lumber mills, sheetrock, building material, just about anything you can make something out of, is what I haul, right? So these places are humping at the moment. Um, during the spring months when everything was shut down due to the Rona, the my worst week on miles was about 1,800 miles. Ever since then, I've been averaging my normal average of about 2,300 miles. And for a company driver, that's really what you want to focus on is your miles. Now, if you're going to go out on your own and do it, you don't want to look at miles. You want to look at a bunch of other stuff. But miles is not what makes you money when you're owner operator. But as far as we're concerned, I'm talking about miles. And that's about what I want to get every week is about 2,300 to 2,500 miles, and that keeps me happy. And that's what I've been getting. Now, as far as what it's going to be in the future, with us changing presidents, okay, lady, with us changing presidents and new regulations being introduced and stuff, and whether or not Congress passes them or whatever, the economy could slow down. Usually our economy does not like regulation. So, if they bring a bunch of regulations in on us, then the economy is going to slow down and people aren't going to build anything because they're going to have to pay for these regulations. And I mean, that's just the way it works. It's a simple view of how our economy works, right? Uh, Less restraints allows people to have more money and to build more things and to build infrastructure and stuff like that. And that keeps our economy heated up. Uh, when you put a bunch of regulations in, usually people don't want to spend the money because they're going to have to spend those to comply with regulations or taxes, and stuff slows down. People don't want to build; they don't want to invest. So, as far as right now, these steel mills and lumber places and gypsum places, they're producing. Okay, people are building, they're producing. So, I don't know. We'll see in another 6 months how everything's going to go. I think it's still going to be heated up. Just a little bit because we're getting the vaccine out, and people are going to be going. Even more people are going to be going back to work, and that's going to heat the economy up a little bit. But eventually, it's going to slow back down with the introduction of regulations. Just keep that in mind. The state of Maverick's not doing bad. I don't think they send us weekly. They send us weekly updates on how freight is flowing and stuff, and everything's been positive the last few months. So it's after we got out of shutdowns, everybody started producing again, and we needed places. We needed to haul stuff. But we are flatbed, and if people start not or stop building and not investing in their infrastructures, then our business is going to slow down, and we may struggle for miles in another 6 months to a year. So, as the industry goes, so does Maverick. It's just the way it is in any industry. They don't have a magic recipe other than bigger, better, and do it better than your competitor. You know what I mean? But if that gives you a little bit of information on the broad subjects, and I'll be back with some more from the email here in just a little bit. Hey, look, I've ran out of the hard stuff. I'm sure I'm going to get some more here in a little bit. So second thing that was brought up in the email was what are the ups and downs of truck driving, and how is it driving for Maverick? Well, okay, so let's start with the downs. Like right now, this is a down, and my wife's in surgery or potentially going into surgery, uh, and I'm not there for her. I'm out here doing this. Now, in no way, shape, or form is this Maverick's fault. It is not. I could have easily called extended services, told them the situation of what was going on, and they would have found me somebody to take this load. I am quite sure. Okay, this is This was a decision that my wife and I made together uh, last night. Okay, so we discussed it in plenty of time to get this repowered by somebody else and over to the customer. But I'm out here because of a decision we made. Anyway, but it still weighs on you, and you still think it. My mind is on her. I'm trying to lose myself in my book. And driving down the road, but my mind is on my wife. But it's a definite down. Not being able to see your loved ones as often, that's certainly a down. And it's that's the major things with this industry is the amount of home time that you have, but it's a trade-off. um, it's there is a definite trade-off for it. So it's something that you have to think about before you come out here. The ups, oh, there's tons of ups, especially coming from where I came from, retail management. We worked about the same amount of hours as I'm working now, but I mean, it was stressful, very stressful. And you don't really have a whole lot of freedoms to do a whole lot of what you want to do, and that is a definite up with this job. I mean, I'm making more than I was making as a co-manager at Walmart, and I have a lot more freedoms. I can do my YouTube channel like I'm doing right now and have a blast doing it. I have listened to more books over the last year than I have been able to listen to in the last 20. And I'm really enjoying getting into, being able to listen to these stories, or, the technical books that I like to listen to, like, growing your YouTube channel, or learning a language, or I've got some of those books in there, and there's so much freedom about it, and it still satisfies my urge to uh, service customers. I very much have that urge in my body to want to. I want to be able to see a customer get what they need to produce whatever they need. And it was the same way with retail. The happiest times I was at retail was when I was helping customers. Helping them. Figuring out what they really needed, and seeing a smile on their face. And that's it's very satisfying to start with something and end up with nothing. You know what I mean? It was the same way stocking shelves. You started with a whole truck worth of freight, and you ended up with no freight. It was all gone. It was where it needed to be. It was in its place. Same thing here. I start with an empty trailer, load the trailer, get the trailer where I need it, and then empty it again, and I'm start fresh. It's a new job every time, and it's very satisfying, and it's a lot less stress. I have not stressed out hardly at all this year. Medical issues, medical card, that kind of stuff, but not much else. Um, as far as driving for Maverick, I have had no problems with Maverick. My fleet manager is a pretty good fleet manager. I've had some decent ones over the last year, and I like the company. I have had no issues, no problems. Um, Nothing that couldn't be fixed real quick. Okay, and I believe I believe it's because of my attitude when I came in. They said I could see the way they were training, and then in the trainings, I could see they wanted feedback and they wanted communication. Yes, ma'am. And they wanted communication from you, and they're trying to get you to understand that they want to hear everything. They want to communicate, and if you understand that, and you get in and you communicate with these people, then there's nothing that you can't fix. Nothing go wrong that you can't fix. It's just I like the company. They've treated me very well. Next segment's going to be on pay. Stay with me. It's the random fact of the day. See, I fooled you. We're going to do a random fact before we get to the last segment. So today, random fact is about sports. The first Winter Olympics was held in 1924 in France at Mont Blanc. It had 16 events, including hockey and curling. If you don't know what curling is, go look it up. It's like shuffleboard on ice. It's very relaxing. And that's the random fact of the day. As you can see, we found the rain again. So last segment, the last thing they wanted to know about was money. So let's talk about it. So when you first start, CDL, if you're going to get your CDL from them, the CDL class is not paid. It just isn't, the 3 weeks that you're in there. When you go to securement, you sign your paperwork and you get oriented in, and then you start getting paid $600 a week while you're training in securement and while you're on the training truck. Once you're done with that, then you start accumulating miles and get paid by the mile when you get in your own truck. So I don't know what the mileage is now for starting pay. I know they had changed it at one point. You probably need to go to the Maverick website. It will tell you what their starting pay is for a new driver. And it'll also update you on anything else that's changed since I've been on there. I haven't been on there in a while. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, $600 a week up until you start driving for a mile. When I went in, I was making 52 cents a mile. Plus, I was making a 2-cent bonus for every safe mile that I drove until I was out of my training fleet manager. Okay, when I got my permanent fleet manager, that's when I started on regular 6 cents a mile bonus plus my 52 cents a mile. So then I got a raise up to 54 cents a mile. Now I'm sitting at 54 cents a mile plus my 6 TFP. I'm making 60 cents a mile. What does that translate into? Some good pay is what it translates into. You get paid weekly, and it's depending on how many miles you drive, what you start out at. Everybody's experience is different. But this first full year, I'm not counting the end of last year that I drove. This first full year, I'm slated to make right at $70,000, and that's pretty good for first year driving a truck. Okay, and everything that I've seen on the internet, it all points back to Maverick being one of the best pays out there for no experience in driving. All right, I think everybody pretty much agrees on that. I've seen several sources that are all, Maverick pays pretty well for if you don't have experience. Okay? But yeah, it's, depending on how many miles you drive, I drive anywhere from 23 to 2,500, 2,200, somewhere in there, average a week. So, depending on how many miles you drive and what you're getting paid, you can bring home this is talking gross, you can bring home anywhere from $1,400 to $1,800 a week gross, and then that would translate into, $800 to $1,200 a week take home pay. Yeah, it just depends on how much you got in insurance, how you do your taxes and all that stuff all comes in. Okay? So that's a pretty good range for you. And I don't know about you, but if you can average bringing home $1,000 a week, that's pretty good bring home pay for just about anybody, I think. If you can't live on that, you're living way above your means. Tone that down a little bit, maybe. But I don't have any complaints. I'm making more money this year than I made as a co-manager for Walmart, managing $5 to $7 million worth of inventory, 300 associates or more, plus another 12 assistant managers under you got to manage, and all that stress and hours and stuff. I'm making more than that, and that that makes me happy because I have less stress. I get paid more. But and that's the trade-off I was speaking of earlier. You're not at home, no, and you do miss out on things, yes. But the payoff is the pay is decent. If you want to come out here and work a little bit, not worry about not getting dirty, and you can physically do it, the pay is not bad. I'll tell you that. I'm very satisfied with my pay. And I'm not struggling to do it. I'm not pushing to do it. That's the way I'm being paid for the type of work that I'm doing. Okay. And at the end of the year, I'll show you guys my last pay stub for the year. And I'll black out all the stuff I don't want to see. I'll show you what my final pay was for the year. That's for sure. And that's with a week of pay I didn't get because I didn't drive, the week of Thanksgiving. So, take that into account too. I'd have been another, $1,800 on there, on whatever it ends up to. So, I hope all that helps. Yes, I am very satisfied with Maverick, and yes, the pay is good, and I think the industry is going to be good for at least another 6 months to 8 months, and maybe beyond that. So, is it a good time to get into flatbedding? Yeah, I mean it's not a bad time. Okay, it's not. We're not on the upswing of an economy, but it's not a bad time. That's for sure.
1 mile ahead, big ramp, and then merge
So
left on
hope
US
that helps.
79 south.
Let's get on down the road, and I'll give you guys an update on Kelly when I get one, or maybe not when we get done. All right, so let's go. All right, so we have stopped, and my wife's out of surgery. She's doing all right. The doctor thinks that she's going to be okay. They found where the infection had started a little bit around where they cut that out, but that was building up before she even went to the hospital, before her first surgery. So she had a little bit of blockage in her either lower or upper intestine, whichever one it was, I don't know. But they kind of fused together, so they had to go in there and flush that out. But she's doing all right, and she's sleeping all that off. But thank you for caring about her and making sure that you keep her in the thoughts. I'd appreciate that. But I'm tired, so I'm going to go to sleep. See y'all later.